I'm taking a picture of my indoor-outdoor thermometer to show you what the temperature is today. The outdoor temperature is on the right, and the indoor is on the left, if you can see it. The outdoor says about minus 48 to 50. And the indoor says about 56 above. So there's about 100 degrees difference between the outside and the inside on January 1st, 1990. Happy New Year! Well, here we are outside the apartment. You notice the fog. It's called ice fog. It's worse in some places than others. Now we're heading around to the back. And the first car we see around here is Alex. He's 19 years old now. You'll notice the cord on the front. And there's my plug-in. The car over there is plugged in. If you don't plug in, you don't go. Well, it is cold. So, we'll just walk around like we were taking Barry for a walk. Which we just did. And I'll turn around here and show you what the apartment looks from the backside. See that house there? I call it Snoopy House. It used to be Barry's house. And over there, that's a dog box. And that's Chico there. You can see the amount of snow that we've had. Okay, there's the dumpster. There we are. There's the apartment complex across the way. And here's our apartment. And you see the window to the left there, right underneath the stairs, or right at the stairs, I should say. That's my bedroom window. Terrible place to be. Rattles and shakes. And we're not going to stay out too long. I'm just going to take you for a walk around the building here. Since it is so cold, I don't know how long this thing will stay on. So like I say, we'll just walk around the building. Now when it comes to the cars, at this temperature, you start out with square tires. By that I mean you go clunk, clunk, clunk. It takes a couple of 100 yards to get them rounded out again. We'll look down the street here. This is College Road. And now we'll head back into the apartment. Here we are, apartment number 10. And there's Barry. Hi, Barry. Talk about being camera shy. Place isn't real neat today. Of course, I do have a problem with storage, so I don't have any storage. So that's why everything is out. Anyway, this is the living room. And over here is the bathroom. Not terribly big, just big enough. And then outside the bathroom is the kitchen, which is bigger than the one I had upstairs. That's one reason why I moved downstairs, because I wanted a bigger kitchen. At least there's cupboard space. I didn't have any cupboard space up there. And I didn't have any windows in my kitchen up there either. The living room looks like okay, it's not big. Big enough. And we'll turn around this way and these are the windows. And you'll notice that pan, if I pan up here, you can see a big water spot up there. Drip from upstairs. So that's why the pan is there. And in here is my bedroom. Actually, it's more my living room. I live in here. It's not terribly big either, but it works.
To extract a few grains of gold dust.
And there's the thermometer that I showed you in the first. And if you notice my TV's turned on its side, that's because that's so that I can watch it while I'm laying down. And now we're facing out from the bedroom. Hello! Rick, Kay, Paul, Matthew, Mom and Dad, Peanut, all the cats. Hope everybody's healthy. As you can see by the date, it's been about 16 days since I last recorded. That's because I've been trying to figure out what kind of a movie to do. And so I decided that what you would probably enjoy the most would be a video where I gave you a sampling of things that I like to do, what I do with my life, in other words. So I figured I'd start out first with some of my physical activities, or what I like to compete in. Never was competitive as a teenager, but I've become more competitive as a 40-year-old. Anyway, one of the things I like to do is indoor rowing. And back in December 4th, I think it was, we had the second annual Alaska State Indoor Rowing Championships. And it was held at the athletic club, which is my old employment place. I belong to the Fairbanks Athletic Club. That's the other club on the other side of town. They got really imaginative with the names. You know, the athletic club was there before the Fairbanks Athletic Club, but the Fairbanks Athletic Club just they didn't use very much imagination in deciding on their name. Anyway, like I said, the regatta was held at the athletic club, and there were 34 or 35 people that competed, which is the biggest turnout we've ever had. Nobody came up from Anchorage, but everybody was from Fairbanks this time. But it was a real good turnout for something like this. The regattas are conducted on the Concept 2 rowing ergometer, and this happens to be one of them here. I happen to own one. They are the Rolls-Royce, Mercedes-Benz of the computerized rowing machines. They are really nice, but they don't cost like a Rolls-Royce or a Mercedes-Benz. When I bought mine, I think it's about the same price now, $700. That's cheap for a computerized rowing machine. The ones we had at the club before that, which were made by Universal, were $1,500, and they couldn't do what this does. Now this is a flywheel type machine. In other words, the wheel here has a fan on it, and that's what gives the resistance. The other type of rowing machine that you have is the piston type. I'm sure the type that you normally buy in a sporting goods store. This type has to be ordered from the factory. And the factory's up in Maine, and they also make oars for outdoor rowing. So they're really into rowing only. Anyway, I just wanted to preface the regatta that I'm going to tape for you after I get through with my little talk here by telling you a little bit about the machine and telling you about what the regatta is, how it's conducted and what goes on. And also to tell you that the tape, or the race, was graciously taped by my chiropractor, Charles Rubley. His wife, June, was I guess I could say my one and only long-term client that I had in my personal fitness training. She's actually the one that got me started in it. You know, she suggested it, and then I looked into it and got my business license and everything, and that venture hasn't turned out very well. In fact, since June has gone into, she's into tennis now, we haven't had any sessions in quite a while. But during our tenure, or my tenure as her instructor, we became good friends. And I see Charlie on a regular basis as a chiropractor. And he knew the regatta was coming up, and I mentioned that I thought my form was off. And he said, well, you want me to record? I said, yeah, I'd appreciate that. So the whole family came over. I won't say the whole family. Charlie and June and their two youngest daughters, Charlotte and Stephanie, whom I think you'll see Charlotte between the 2500 and the relay race. He pans upstairs at the club there. You'll see Charlotte. I don't think, maybe Stephanie's in it too. Anyway, you don't see June and you don't see Charlie, but you see them. Anyway, I wanted to tell you who recorded the race for me. The regatta, like I say, takes place on these machines, and the club has 3 of them, and Sid Swerman, who is, I guess you could call him a businessman. He's the one I got the machine through. He provided the other, let's see, there were 8 machines, so he provided the other 5 machines. He also sells them. You know, if you want one, you can order one from him, and like I say, they're really cheap for a nifty rowing machine. Anyway, back to the race. We had 8 machines. 4 of them were set up as warm-up, and 4 of them were set up for the heats. And the race course, you might say, was enclosed with tape. Now, the only people that were allowed inside there during the race was the racer and their coxswain or coach. And my coach or coxswain in there is Jolanda Cook. Now, I've known her for about 8 years now. She's competed in bodybuilding. I was her backstage helper in the 1985 Ms. Alaska. She didn't win anything in that, but it was fun to go down and be backstage and help her and everything, you know. So she graciously helped me in the regatta here. Now what the coxswain does is, I told her what I had planned to do. I had a race strategy. Since the race is 2,500 meters, I found that if I divided it into 3 parts, 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters, and then the last 500 meters, I gave her my race strategy, and I told her my quirks, my idiosyncrasies, when I needed help. You know, she was going to be there during the whole race to encourage me, to keep me going. And you really need encouragement when you're going as hard and as fast as you can. Now, there's a couple of things about the machine here that can make a difference. And last year's race, I found, just by accident, that if you set the resistance on here to what I call the heavy sprocket and open the fan over here, you get more resistance, but you also get a better time. That is, if you can keep up with the heavy resistance. Now, I later found out this year that they've suggested that if you maintain a certain speed on here, and only if you can maintain that speed should you be using the heavy sprocket. I get nowhere near that speed. I should never be using the heavy sprocket. But I didn't know that before the race, and I had done maybe 1 week of training with the heavy sprocket, fan open, and then I got the flu for 2 weeks and a week off to recuperate. So I'm not trying to make excuses for my lousy time, but that's why I had such a terrible time in the 2,500, was because I'd been training really. I'd had about 5 weeks of hard training, rowing every day, up to an hour, and then I got sick. I almost didn't do the race, but then I thought, oh, what the hell? People can walk in off the street and do this race. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be a chicken. So I got in there and did it. But I left it at the heavy sprocket, which wasn't smart. By leaving it at the heavy sprocket, I was like rowing through cement. When you have it on the light sprocket, fan closed, they say it's more like rowing on open water. Having never been in a rowing show before, I wouldn't know, but that's what they tell me. So from now on, I won't even touch the heavy sprocket. I'll leave it in the light sprocket, fan closed, and I should get better time now that I've been able to see my my stroke and my technique, which it was in the race. It was terrible, but then I came home and reviewed it. I have a sculling video that shows the proper technique. I took that into account, and I have practiced, and I think I've improved my technique since then. But we won't have another regatta for a while, so I just need to practice. Anyway, back to the regatta. Everybody who enters the race has to do 2,500 meters, as hard and as fast as you can. And you have categories of open men, open women, you have masters, and you have veterans. Masters are over 40, and veterans are over 50, I think. We didn't have any 50-year-olds this year, and in the races past, I haven't had any competition in the women's over 40. But this time I did. In fact, there was 1 or 2 other women in the over 40s. So I didn't get a trophy this year. Not that that really bothers me. I know I didn't put in a great time, but just wanted to tell you that I didn't get a trophy this year. And the time that I did the race in was 11 minutes 28 seconds, which is slow compared to my other times. I've done it in last year. I did it in 10 minutes 50 seconds. And the year before that, I did it, or the spring before that, I did it in 11 minutes 14 seconds. So you can see my time was really off this year. Anyway, back to the race. 2,500 meters, everybody has to do that. Then after everybody has done their 2,500 meters, then we have what's called a relay race. And it's a 3-person relay race. You have to have 1 man or 1 woman on a team. And some people come knowing who their team is, and most people don't. I wanted to do a relay, so I just kind of found 2 other people to do it. And my partners are Beth Curtin and Tim Huber, in that order. The performance meter here is set for 3,000 meters. Then each person does 1,000 meters. And you jump off the machine after you get through with your 1,000 meters and hand it off to the next person. Now that's the fun part, is handing it off, you know. And if you can do it right, you can get a good time. We didn't get a terribly good time. In fact, it was kind of funny that my time at 2,500 meters was 11 minutes 28 seconds. The time that we did the 3,000 meters in 3 of us was 11 minutes 30 seconds. I thought that was kind of coincidental. But they gave us the option this year that if we had a 2-woman, 1-man team, that we could do it, the women could do 750 meters each, and then the man do 1,500 meters, because of course the man was going to get a better time. So we decided to do it that way. So Beth and I did 750 meters, and then Tim did the last 1,500. And we didn't come out good on the relays either, because it's the team with the fastest time that wins the trophy. But like I say, I didn't win any trophies, but it's just competing. And I find whenever I start thinking about the regatta or the racing, I get excited. When I watch it, I get excited. I'm nervous. Oh, it's fun. It is a killer, let me tell you. I mean, you will see in there, I look like I'm ready to die, and I feel like it. You know, all I want to do when I get off the machine is just catch my breath first, and then go lay down, because I am dead. If you've ever run a, I don't know, well, Rick's done some races where I'm sure he's gone all out, and he knows what it's like to go all out, and how taxing it can be on you. That's the way it is in this. You may or may not notice that during the 2,500 meters, I'm not going terribly fast, whereas when I get on the machine for the relay, I'm going faster. That's because in the 2,500, I kept it on the heavy sprocket, and after doing that, I suggested to my teammates that we put it on the light sprocket for the relay, and I think we suffered less for it. Anyway, I wanted to preface the regatta with my little talk here, and now I'll go record that, and I'll get back to you later.
Yeah, the guy that, no, the very what do you pull?
Happy birthday, dear Stephanie. Happy birthday to you. So make a wish.
And many more on Channel 2.
Blow, 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 blow. Blow some more. Blow some more. Yay! Happy birthday, dear Charlotte. Happy birthday to you. Make a wish.
A dinosaur.
Blow 'em out.
There you go. I figured I'd take you on a little trip. Of course, I haven't figured out a way to put the camera in the car, so I'm just gonna show you today. It's about 4 o'clock, and as you can see, the street lights are on. I think it's snowing out. So we'll head on back. I'm gonna take Barry for a ride. Yes, it certainly has been snowing. I wanted to show you one thing, and I neglected the last time. If you can read it. Let's see if we can zero in on it. Yeah, there we go. Alex, it's the muscle car. I tried to get MUSCLE, but somebody's already got that. So I had to go with the muscle car. Anyway, here's the old man. And there's Barry. I put him outside, give him a little outside time. While I'm home. And today happens to be my day off, so he's been out for a little while. Put him out this morning. But I figured he likes outdoor time. Gives him a little bit of exercise. He's playing hard to get. Shy. Yeah, look at that boy. We have a little game. I sneak up on him and he plays shy. Yes, of course he's rather camera shy too. Aren't you? But he's a pretty boy. Yes, you pretty boy. Yes, you are. Yeah. Yeah. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Oh, is that a fact? Okay, let me go put the camera away and I'll be back to get you. Okay? Look at the trees out here. I didn't get to show you that the last time. I think the trees are so pretty when there's snow hanging on them. Of course, you see them big trees there. In the summertime, in the fall, there's squirrels go up there, and they're always bringing down the nuts, or the pine cones rather. And they're always dropping them on me and stuff. Now you got snow to fall on you. But I think the trees are so pretty when they're just full of snow. Of course, a big wind comes along and then they look bare. But this is this is how you decorate your Christmas tree. Put snow on it. Okay, I'm going to head back to the car, and I'll see you in a little bit. Well, hi guys, I'm back. And I just got through reviewing what I recorded out there, the outdoor scene. I said I was going to take you on a ride. Well, it got a little bit, after I got out on the road, I realized it was kind of slippery and dark, darker than I really wanted it to be. So I figured I'll show you what I want to show you outside tomorrow, because tonight is dark and it's 5:30. It was funny when I was reviewing the tape there, once I got out to Barry, he was laying on the bed while I was watching it, and all of a sudden he jumps up, he goes right up to the TV, looks right at it, when I was out there talking to him, like, who's that? Where's the puppy? Where's the puppy? It was funny. I got a chuckle out of that. He's one of my favorite puppies. I must say that. He's a good boy. I will say, when I picked him out of the litter, I certainly picked a good one. I really did. Of course, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't taken him to obedience class as I did. Of course, obedience class only takes place once a week, and then you have to do your homework the rest of the week. So, if you don't do your homework, you don't get anything out of it. Like I didn't when I took Jock to obedience class back in '73. But, of course, now that was almost, that was almost 20 years ago. Goodness gracious. Poor Jock, he's been dead about a year now. And, I miss him. But he lived a good life. Most of it. Most of it was a good life. But I learned a lot with Jock that I've put to practice with Barry. And I think Barry's going to be in fact, I know he's going to be an excellent dog. He is an excellent dog. He's laying down here in front of me. He's my good buddy. Like I said, I put him outside. I just started doing that this week. I decided that he could probably use some outdoor time. And like I say, I only leave him out when I'm home. So, past couple of weeks now, I've been working 3 to 11 shift. I used to hate that shift, but I'm getting used to it. Anyway, so I got the mornings off and some of the afternoons, so we go out around 10 o'clock in the morning, and then he stays out till around 2, 2:30, and then I bring him in. And maybe you noticed maybe you didn't, I have a kennel for him, carrier, and that's where he stays when he's inside here. I don't know if he'd chew up anything, but I don't want to give him a chance, because I just feel he might, and besides, that was part of my training with him, was teaching him about the kennel, that's his home away from, that's his place. I'm not going to go in there, I'm not going to violate his space. When he goes in there, I call it his den, and I say, okay, time to go in your den, and he heads right in there, most of the time. Sometimes he balks, but he goes in there, and he stays in there. That way I figure he's out of trouble, he's safe. That's, when I had him tied up out back there, I'd leave him out there even when I went to work. And I never really thought about him getting off or anybody stealing him or anything like that until the day I came home and he was off, and all sorts of thoughts went through my mind, like he'd gotten away, and gee whiz, I was going to have to search for him, or maybe somebody stole him, because he is a very pretty dog. In fact, I had this, when I lived upstairs, there was this fellow, don't know who he was, this fellow came up and knocked on the door and wanted to know if I owned the dog out back there, and if he was a boy, and if he had all his parts. I said, no, he's been fixed. And he said, oh well, he had a female here that was looking for a boyfriend, and she looked like a collie, small collie, whereas Barry's part collie. He's big. I mean, he's tall. He's a big boy. So, and everybody that has ever seen him has thought he's a very pretty dog. And I think he's a very pretty dog, too, But, it's funny, he's made a few color changes in his life, like when he was under a year, his chest was all white, and so was his nose, the mask part. And then, I guess it was a ways on there, he started getting little black marks on his nose. I thought it was dirt at first, but it's not. It's his coloring, and then he's got it on his chest too. Now he's getting something on his front paw. He's getting red between his toes. And at first I thought he was with blood or something. And I looked again, and it's just coloration, Maybe it's he's black and white, but he got a little bit of red in him too. Probably the collie part of him, coming through. But that's my boy, Barry, and he's my best friend. He really is. And I hope he lives many years. Many long years, just like Jock did. Well, I hope you enjoyed the regatta. I enjoyed watching it again. That was fun. In case you're wondering how I did that, I have 2 tape recorders. And I see that you could do this with the with the camera too, but I've had 2 tape recorders for a while now. I got one that you can just play on, it just plays back. And I hook that up to my other one, and then record into the regular one from that one. So I do that quite frequently. With like I can rent a movie if I decide I want to keep it. I make a copy. I know that's supposed to be against the rules, but as long as I don't do it and sell tickets, nobody's going to say anything. But I sometimes do that, like, in case you didn't know, in case you didn't realize, I'm a TV addict, TV junkie. And I have 2 favorite shows. There's Beauty and the Beast and Star Trek: The Next Generation. Maybe you noticed my wall. I have a Beauty and the Beast wall, and I have a Star Trek wall. Star Trek shares the wall with Superman and Batman, and Tom Selleck over here. But those 2 programs, about the same time, since they're both in their 3rd season, about the same time in their 1st season, I decided I should start recording these and keeping them, keeping a running record, I got to thinking about it on Star Trek that, now Star Trek, the original one, is such a hit in the video stores and reruns. I thought, gee, if I do this now, if I record all the episodes and all the seasons, then I won't have to rent them. I already have them. So that's what I've done. I missed 1 or 2 from last year because I had a bad tape, and I didn't get them all in reruns on Star Trek. And Beauty and the Beast, I missed 1 or 2 episodes of that in the 1st season because I didn't think fast enough. But those 2 programs I'm keeping, actually I've got 7 tapes, 7 full tapes on those. And what I'll do, if I'm home when it's on, I'll sit there with the remote control and edit out the commercials. I'm real good at that, editing out the commercials. And if I'm not home, I set a program on the VCR, record it, and then when I get home, or later on, I'll take it from there, stick it in the bottom recorder, and transfer it onto the master tape. Again, with the remote control, editing out the commercials. And that makes it really neat to edit out the commercials. I've gotten pretty good at Star Trek has you can tell when a commercial's coming out. And pretty much Beauty and the Beast too. They don't sneak up on you. They fade out so you know when they're coming. So like I say, I've gotten pretty good at that. And that's one of my hobbies, I guess you could say, is television. Last year I even tried to get a job in television. Not on screen, off screen, technician type. One of my friends, Sandra Calvillo, she used to work at the CBS affiliate up here, and she told me that they were looking for a, what was it called? Can't even remember the name now, what it was called. But basically what it would be the person who puts in the commercials and makes sure that all the tapes are running and make sure that things are on time. And I will say one thing about up here, they do tend to get off time. I mean, I've missed a few programs because I've set it for, say, a program's going to be on from 9 till 10, and they'll get backtracked, and they won't be on till 9:15, 9:30, sometimes even an hour behind. I can remember when I first got up here, boy, were they were so bad. You couldn't count on anything being on time. Nothing. And then during political season, all the political announcements would just back you up like crazy. They've gotten a little bit better with that. A little bit. But they're still not up to snuff. But I find I watch the CBS affiliate the most. Although I do have cable. And I have a few programs on there that I watch on a regular basis, like Bonanza, Hill Street Blues. Those are 2 that I can think of right now that I record and don't necessarily save. But well, in the morning I watch Bonanza at 9 o'clock. It comes on after or I have it so that it pops over to WOR after Good Morning America, which I like to watch in the morning. Actually, I use the television as an alarm clock now. I have an alarm clock, but I hardly ever use it because I have my television. With the cable boxes that I have, you can set programs on there to come on at a particular time and go off at a particular time. So I have a program come on in the morning. As you can set 4 programs. I have a program come on in the morning at 6 o'clock for CNN. And I have that from 6 till 7. And at 7 it changes over to Good Morning America. I have it set for that. And then that goes for 2 hours. And then at 9 o'clock I just started the Bonanza from 9 till 10. And then it goes off. And then that's 3 programs. And then the 4th program, so that I don't have to turn my TV off in the evening or at night or in the early morning, I have a program set that comes on at 11:30 at night and goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that if I fall asleep, my TV's going to go off automatically. I like that feature. That's just perfect. I also have my light on a timer, my lamp in the bedroom there on a timer, which also goes off at 2 o'clock. So that way I save electricity. Since I've started this timer bit, I've gotten pretty good at that. Of course, if I leave the VCR on, that doesn't have a timer on. Too bad. Sometimes I wish I could turn it off, or have a timer to turn it off. But I'm a regular TV junkie, and I used to consider it, a crime, but I don't anymore. I've come to realize that that's me. That's my hobby. I tried to get a job in there, wasn't successful. But I don't feel bad about it anymore. It's just one of my hobbies. In fact, I have what I would call 2 luxury items in my life. Cable TV, which costs $38.85 a month. I think that's pretty good. And then there's my membership at the athletic club, Fairbanks Athletic Club, FAC. And that's $67 a month for dues. And if I ever had to make a choice between the 2 of them, I have to say I think I'd drop the athletic club membership, because I don't go there every day. In fact, it's been a little while since I've been there. I've been sort of off. Actually, since before Christmas. I haven't been over there since before Christmas, because I've just been, I guess, burned out. I haven't had the urge, so I've been waiting for the urge to come back. In fact, I haven't done anything since before Christmas. I've been a regular slug, which bothers me at times that I've become such a slug. But then I figure it'll come back. It always does. It always has in the past. I just have to get away from it for a while, and then it gradually comes back. So I started rowing this week. In fact, I got it rowed tonight. Started rowing on this past Monday. Put in 20 minutes every day. I'm trying to get back into a regular routine. I was thinking of this the other day, about exercise, and about when I was a fitness trainer, and motivating people to exercise. Now, I find I have a problem doing it for health, unless I have an injury. But just for general health, maybe in the back of my mind that's what I'm supposed to do, or that's why I'm doing it. But I've just got this competitive thing. Like I may start out in the weight room just doing it as a maintenance program. Then I start looking at the weights that I'm lifting, and I start saying, well, we should be pushing harder. And I must say, last year I went through a few aches and pains from pushing harder. Let's see, I had a wrist problem for a while there, for a couple of months, tendonitis. Actually, it was a sprained wrist. I don't know how I did it. I didn't fall down or anything. I think it was just overtraining in the weight room. And maybe you noticed on the regatta I had a tennis elbow brace on my right arm here. I've had tennis elbow from rowing because of improper technique. I've had a shoulder problem from rowing, improper technique. Maybe if I improve my technique, I won't have all these aches and pains. My knees haven't bothered me recently, thank goodness, but they're going to, because if I don't exercise, my knees start bothering me, and they've been a little bit. My back problem hasn't been too bad since I started seeing Charlie, my chiropractor, and that was last November. I started seeing him. No. 88. Yeah, I've been seeing him for over a year now. I must say that if I hadn't gone to the chiropractor and had the treatment that I've had, I wouldn't have the job that I have right now. Because my job involves 7.5 hours of standing on my feet on a concrete floor. And there's no way that I could have done that job without having had the chiropractic treatment that I've had, because my back bothers me once in a while. Not from the lifting. Everybody thinks it's from the lifting. It's from the standing. Because I can be standing back there trimming lettuce and celery and all that, and that's a task I have to do almost every night that I work. And that usually takes me 1.5 hours to 2 hours to do, and that can really give me a backache. Not necessarily in the lower back, but more in the middle, between the shoulder blades. Sometimes a little lower down. But that can be a real pain. And I've found some stretches, in fact, people will walk back there when I'm stretching, hanging off a ladder or pulling on a post or whatever, and they wonder what the hell I'm doing. I'm just trying to make myself feel better. But, people would say, well, you should be exercising. Well, even when I exercise, I still get backaches, so it's just time, I guess, or it's just the aches and pains. Because, like I say, I do, Rick should know that you do a lot of lifting back in produce. But the heaviest thing back there, heaviest box, I guess, is about 50 pounds. And when I worked at the athletic club there, we got 45-pound plates, weight plates, and I was always toting them around. So I remember when I first started working there, I'd been working out, but I hadn't been working out to a great extent. And starting working there, I had to clean up the weight room every once in a while. So picking up the 45-pound plates, 25, 35, 25, 10-pound plates, and putting them back on the rack. That really, I'd get off at the end of the day and be tired, but it made me stronger too. So just cleaning up the weight room made me stronger. So when I started working at Safeway there, no problem, because of course I'd had a couple of months off for unemployment, but I was still in pretty good shape. And I consider myself in pretty fair shape. A lot better than some of the women that I see working there at the store. Some of them are younger than me, and they're weaker than me. I can't think of anybody there well, maybe there's a couple. Whatever. Anyway, I don't mind the work there at the store. It's kind of fun. I've grown to like produce. Of course, I always did. I'm basically a vegetarian. Don't eat much meat. Get my protein from, eat a lot of yogurt, vegetable sources, But I don't go out of my way to eat meat. When I get hungry, I have popcorn. I'm a popcorn freak. You can call me Penny Popcorn. Anyway, I don't mind it there, working in produce, but I would like to make more money. So I've been out looking went over to one of the other stores. We only have three grocery stores in town. There's Safeway, there's Foodland, and there's Super Value. And all three of them are under the Retail Clerks Union. And when I was over at the union office one day, I picked up the contract from each one of the stores. Wanted to compare them because they have the wage listings in there. And I found out that Foodland pays better than either Safeway or Super Value. So I put in an application over at Foodland. First I put in for the nutrition section, because one of the Rubley girls, in fact she was in the end of the regatta there, and I left in the birthday party. She was the older girl there, that was Crystal. She used to work there at Foodland and Nutrition. But I found out that would only be a part-time job, and I certainly need a full-time job. So the other day I was over there and I was talking to the nutrition manager. She said she would talk to the produce manager for me. Well, we went up and I had a little chat with the produce manager and also the manager of the store, telling them that I was interested in getting a job there. And right now at Safeway I'm getting paid $6.25 an hour. Now if I were over at Foodland, with the hours that I have in now, I should be up to $7.59, I think. So you can see there's a big, that's a little over $1 difference. In fact, the manager there at Foodland couldn't understand, if I'd been there almost a year, why I was only getting $6.25. I said because I'm a junior apprentice. They have rankings there, and Safeway is the only store that has junior apprentice, somewhere in between a courtesy clerk and a regular clerk. And I'm a junior apprentice, JA as they call them. And I'd say in about 6-8 weeks I should be getting another raise up to $7, but that's as high as I can go as a JA. So the only way I can get out of the JA rating is to take this aptitude test for food clerk, because back in produce you can either be a JA or you can be a food clerk. At Safeway they have two rankings of the people that work there. They have food clerks and general clerks. A general clerk would be somebody that worked in the deli, in the bakery, photo sound, seafood. Now those people, if I'd have gotten hired when I first started there, in the deli or the bakery, I would have started out at $6.75. Whereas when I started as a JA, and I started at $5.75, $1 less. And then I can only go up $7. Whereas a general clerk progresses up the ladder, and they go up to, I think, $11 an hour. Now the food clerk, they get paid more, because I guess they consider the work they do to be paid higher or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, back to this food clerk test. I've taken it twice since I've been there, and it's a timed 4-part test. Let's see. The first part is comparing. You have two sets of numbers, and they start out with, say, 4 digits, and then they work up to maybe 6 or 8 digits, and you have to determine whether these numbers are alike or different. In other words, there might be one number different in there, and you have to tell whether they're alike or different. Now, I'm pretty good at that. Then the second part is you have pictures of food items across the top with numbers underneath each one of the items. And you have questions down here that say, bread is what number? So you have to remember the picture with the number and do it down here. Like I say, it's time. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever. That. And let's see, the third part is math. You know how good I am in math. And the problem with the math, for me, is that it's horizontal math. I'm used to doing vertical math, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. So nothing, no algebra or trig or anything like that, but it's horizontal math. And I just have a terrible time with that. Most of the math I've done in my lifetime has been vertical. And I've tried to, quit converting it because I know that slows me down. Anyway, the fourth part of the test is a dexterity. You have a board here that has, I think it's 5 rectangles, look like shopping bags, or the bottom of a shopping bag, And then you have, we'll call them blocks. Forget how many blocks there are for each one. And they're color coded, so that the blocks match up with the squares here. And you have to go in a certain order. Like brown is over here, red is over here, blue, orange, whatever. And you have to go, say, brown, red, blue, orange. So therefore you have to go from this side first, and then you have to go from this side, and then you have to go back to this side. And you have to get them all packed, and you have to put these blocks. And they're not the same shape. There's round ones, square ones, rectangular ones, you know, like items that you would buy at the store would be. And you've got to put them in the bag. Now, mind you, there's no way to practice these skills. I mean, not really. I mean, I don't do any bagging. I was never given a bagging course. It's just out of the blue, you're supposed to be able to do this. So anyway, I took the first test, and I didn't pass it. Because you're not supposed to finish everything, but you're supposed to, it takes the number of things that you get right, some way they figure it out. Anyway, I didn't pass the first one. So then after you take it the first time, you have to wait 90 days, and then you can take it again. So I took it again, I failed it again. Take it the second time, you have to wait a year. So I took it the second time, I think it was in October. So that means I gotta wait till October before I can take the test again. I don't know what would happen if you fail the third time. But that's the only way I'm going to get any progression in that, is to take that test and pass it, which I seem to have a terrible time doing. So that's why I'm trying to get out of Safeway and get over to Foodland so I can get paid better, get on what I call a fast track. I wouldn't mind working at produce in Foodland. Like I say, I kind of like produce. I don't hate produce. It's just a damn food clerk at Safeway. Oh, let me go check the oven. You just heard the ding. I'll be right back. I'm back. I just had a big hunk of squash in there. Kind of neat to work back in produce there and try out all the squash. Just a big hunk. It was on sale for 49 cents a pound a couple of weeks ago, so I got a big one. Cook it up for a night. Well, let's see, where was I? Work. Oh, well, I think we talked enough about work. I want to tell you about this. Beginning of the tape, I showed you what the temperature was on January 1st. 50 below. That's cold. I mean, that hurts. It really hurts. You. People. Vehicles. Animals. You know, it's just nasty. And we've had some 40 and 50 below weather. Christmas wasn't too bad, but after Christmas, you know, it started getting cold again. And we had, didn't have a real long spell of it, but just a few days. But when it goes to 40 below, and there's a big difference between 20 below and 40 below. 30 below, I don't even like 30 below. I hate 40 below. And I despise 50 and 60 below. I mean, just forget it. But just a few days ago, I went over my 17th year up here. I've been in Alaska 17 years. And most of those 17 years, it's gone to 40 below in the winter for at least 1 or 2 days during the winter, maybe more. And like last year, 60 below. Ugh. And Alex has been up here for that long too. And he's been through 17 winters. But let me tell you, when it gets to 40 below, I really hate to have to go anywhere in Alex, because he gets so stiff. Like I told you about the tires, they're just square, and they just gotta get warmed up. And the steering is just so stiff, and I have to leave it plugged in for 8 hours when it goes to 40 below. And whenever I have to go anywhere when it's 40 below, I get very paranoid. I just feel like something's going to break, although it hasn't so far. But I just have this feeling that something's going to break and I'm going to get stuck. And that just, it gets to me after a while. And this past cold snap that we had, it got to me. I got to thinking about Hawaii. I've never been there. I could have gone, should have gone when I was in the Army. Gotten on a hop over there. But I didn't. Because I wasn't thinking of it then. I can't afford to go now. But for some reason I got to thinking about Hawaii. Not just visiting there, but living there. I've never been there. But I got to thinking, gee, it would be nice to, or I wonder what it would be like to live there. Now the Rubleys, they go there about every year. They went there in the summer, went for the month of June. All 5 of them trek over there. And they stay for a month. And they tell me about it being hot, you know, and it was nice. They brought back pictures. Especially when it's 40 below. You get to thinking about that. It's funny, I don't think about moving anywhere else. You know, I don't think about moving to the lower 48. It doesn't appeal to me. I mean, I love Alaska. I have to love Alaska, being up here 17 years. But this year was really the first time I thought about moving. So I decided to do a little investigation. Went over to the library, and they had a Honolulu newspaper there. So I went to the classified ads, see what we could find in Help Wanted. Well, you know, I wanted to see what the wages were over there, with what my skills are. It was about equal to what it is here. You know, maybe $6 to $8 an hour. Although I did see 5 a few times. And then I looked back in the apartments for rent. I figured those are 2 gauges of what cost of living would be over there. So I was looking for an unfurnished 1-bedroom. Or even an efficiency, you know? Well, let me tell you, first, this apartment that I have here, which I showed you, I pay $315 rent. That doesn't include electricity, which for me, in the winter, maybe averages $25 to $30. In the summer, it drops down because I burn a little less electricity. And phone, of course, which is $14.40 a month unless I make a long-distance phone call. So I was looking for an apartment, about 300, you know, between 300 and 400. I couldn't find any. I think the least I found was maybe a $395. 1 bedroom, just 1 bedroom. $395, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, $1,000. I mean, it was ridiculous. I couldn't find any apartments there. Unfurnished. You know, I didn't want anything special. Couldn't find anything there in my price range. Well, that was very discouraging. Now, I had asked a couple of people, you know, if they'd ever been to Hawaii, or these people that I talked to had. And they mentioned that the cost of living was high. But I wanted to find out. I did. I certainly did. So that kind of put the kibosh on my plans, not really plans, my dreams. Because I'm certainly not ready to move. I was just looking. I was just in a mood there. Like a couple of days at work, I was just on the beach. Yeah, but I came back to reality. And I'm still here. And I probably will be here for a long time. Like I say, there's just something about Alaska. Makes you want to come back. I'd probably get over Hawaii. And even with all the lovely beaches and all the lovely warm weather and all the sunshine, I'd probably want to come back after a while. It's just something that draws you to Alaska. Keeps you here. Makes you want to come back. It has to me, anyway. But I have no real desire to go lower 48. Georgia, New England, up the East Coast, Midwest, you know. Certainly not California, although I used to think about that once in a while, but no, I have no desire to go there. And then I say to myself, well, why don't you move to Anchorage, you know, weather'd be a little better. Then I think, Anchorage is a nice place to visit, but I don't think I want to live there. There's a difference between Anchorage and Fairbanks, besides the weather, besides the location. Just the way people are. I mean, it's been a couple of years since I've been to Anchorage. Last time I went down there was Coach Sandra powerlifting meet. And right now, that's the other sport that I compete in, is powerlifting. I haven't been to a powerlifting meet out of the city since then. And I didn't compete in that one, I just coached her. And I have this thing right now, and until I start making more money, I don't go out of the city for powerlifting meets or anything else. I don't know when I will. But I don't know if there'll be a in-city powerlifting meet this year. Last year we had the state championships in Fairbanks here. Joe Matese, who was my boss over at the athletic club there, he puts on a good meet. Well organized, runs smoothly, doesn't take all day. But as far as I know, nobody's put in a bid for this year's meet. It usually occurs around May. So, I don't know if we're going to have it. We used to flip back and forth between Anchorage and Fairbanks. One year Anchorage would have it, one year Fairbanks would have it. But we've had it the past couple of years, so who knows what's going to happen. But I enjoy competing in powerlifting. That's fun too. And maybe if we have a competition this spring, I can send you some of my highlights. Well, Rick and Kay, I really enjoyed that Christmas tape you sent me. That was fun. I like that. I enjoyed the tree search. Up here, for Christmas trees, although I don't put up a tree anymore, a lot of people go down to the fairgrounds. Kiwanis brings up trees from Oregon, Washington, and they sell them over at the fairgrounds there. I don't know how much they're going. I think I heard $50 to $75. I certainly don't need a tree like that. In fact, I don't have any. Like I say, I haven't put up a tree in 10 years. Don't put one up anymore. I just want Christmas to get over with. It's just an annoyance to me. I used to be a Christmas freak, but not anymore. Anyway, I enjoyed that part of it. You guys going out, and the decorating of the tree. And yes, I remember the decorations. And I really liked Paul's decoration that he sent me. And you know, I enjoy the tapes because I can sort of, at least once a year, which has been so far, I can sort of follow the boys when they're growing up. And that's fun. Because I could, if I were to look back on the Easter tape, I could certainly see a difference. And of course, when you're with somebody all the time, you really don't notice as much change. But when I got your pictures, yeah, those school pictures, I said, wow, what a change in just a year. But that's the way it works, you know. Time goes by. And Rick, I did enjoy the tape that you sent me. Charles, can't remember his last name now. But yeah, he's a good speaker. And interesting topics. When are you going to send me one of your sermons? Of course, you said you haven't been preaching much, but I'd enjoy seeing one of yours sometime. Seeing what type of a preacher you are, or plan to be. And since I don't have a fireside, like you guys have, I had to do a rocking chair. You didn't have a rocking chair, did you? Nah. No, I have my rocking chair here. But yes, I really enjoyed that tape. It helps me keep in touch with you guys, you know. Even better than a letter. That's why maybe we can start a little thing, a little tradition every couple of months, send a videotape. Of course, I know trying to fill it up can be a hassle. Like I say, it took me a while to decide what I was going to put on here. At first, I thought I'd do give you a tour of Fairbanks, but I need a second person for that if I'm going to drive around town. Because like I say, I tried to figure out how I could attach the camera to the car. And I tried attaching it to the headrest, and that didn't work out well. So, I guess I'll just have to get one of my friends to drive me around town sometime. Or maybe you wouldn't even like that. I don't know. I decided you'd probably want to see more of me than you would of Fairbanks. Right? Right. Well, let's see. On my list here, I think I've just about covered everything. It's 6:10. Goodness, how long have I been here? Long time. Haven't run out of tape yet, I guess. Well, I'll close for today, and if I think of something else, or if I decide that tomorrow's weather... Hi guys, I realized after viewing the tape that I'd actually had it back a little too far, had the camera back a little too far, so I figured you might want to see my face a little better, so I'm not going to go into a whole big spiel or anything, but just wanted to give you a little closer shot than there was. In fact, I'll come a little closer. Hi, that's good. Just wanted to try some night shots. The trees can be so pretty at night. It's still snowing, and the northern lights aren't out. And I don't even know if this is going to pick up, since I don't have an infrared. But of course, maybe I don't need that. But it's just kind of pretty out here. Yeah, I just wanted to see what it would look like. Heading back in. Nice. Trying to get Barry to sit down. We're going for a ride. He's in here. There he is. But like I say, he's camera shy. Okay. Well, here we are got over here to the club, and I'm looking at the wires here. They're just wiggling. There's no wind out. They're just doing the hoochie coochie. All the way down the line. That's weird. Seems to start right there. Seems pretty quiet over there. Huh. Well, let me show you the club. Hold on. Go, the Fairbanks Athletic Club. It's a big place here. Over on this side, here's the Teamsters offices. Like, this used to be the Teamsters Recreation Center. Then a company came along and bought it and opened it to the public, which was a good thing since it's the biggest place in town. We got out of the traffic there. Anyway, what I was going to say is the Fairbanks Athletic Club has 3 racquetball courts, 3 tennis courts, full-size gym, full-size swimming pool, weight room, let's see, aerobics. It's just an enormous place. There's no place in town that has as much as this place. Here we are. At the Fairbanks Chiropractic Clinic, where I come every week, at least once a week. And this building used to be a health spa. In fact, it was the first health spa I ever belonged to. Now I come over here to feel better, which I certainly do. Well, now I gotta go pick up my check. I can have a little money, so I'll be back. Oh, this is where I work. This is Safeway.